You're watching WRKM Channel 22, number one in the region. The following WRKM broadcast for mature audiences only. As you can tell, we're in a smaller studio. The shot's a bit more up close. We're in a bit of a cramped space right now, but that's all right. That's all right. We'll make the most of it. This is going to be still a hell of a program. What we got today? It's Supreme Court. They don't like affirmative action. They certainly don't like anything else that involves students. So it is what it is. Supreme Court had one agenda in mind. Fuck them kids. Saturday night. That's how talks we can't have when the sun is up. Good evening. I'm Ralphie Martinez and Swen in Darkness. A smaller studio than WRKM promised us when we replaced Sammy to Stan, but we have not replaced Sammy to Stan. Stan to Stan's not coming back. He's decided to leave us. I mean, his cousin did die on our set. So we have a new system, new group of Stans that are doing their best in this small, cramped space. I always thought affirmative action would have worked out for me, but it hasn't worked out for me, particularly here in WRKM. Instead of giving me the premier spots at the studio, they give me the cramped ones. So you might not get the full crazy motions you used to get, but they'll be more directed towards you. This is going to be a more intimate style of the show, I think. Maybe we'll get a little candle. I'm like, girl. It's like I'm on dinner with these people. It's like you're at dinner with me. We're like, this is the way it could be. This is the way maybe it should be. But of course, what it should be and what it is dictated sometimes by other people. Other people who have lifetime jobs, such as the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court this week took a bold move, a wild move. A move no one saw coming. They got rid of affirmative action. There were many feelings on both sides of the aisle. People who supported it said this is a throwback as you take away more civil rights. For those who didn't support it, thought now we live in a meritocracy. Both of them were a little hyperbolic maybe, but there is a way to meet in the middle, I think. Is there? I don't know. We'll find out. This whole case, essentially, started when a group of Asian students felt that Harvard had not, reviewed them correctly. They were not allowed to enter Harvard due to circumstances beyond their merit. They felt that affirmative action and the damn blacks and Latinos had ruined their opportunity to get into their dream school of Harvard. Was that true? Is it possible that they just weren't good enough? Is it possible they weren't interesting enough? Is it possible their essays were trash? I've written terrible college essays. That's why I did not go to an Ivy League school. If only it was so simple as checking the box Latino and Harvard would let me in, I would have done it. I would have been a great Harvard student. Me and Mark Zuckerberg would have hung out. Maybe I would be working at Facebook. Maybe if I get the chance to go to Harvard, I could be part of these elite institutions, these elite circles of power and money, so I too could have a better life. But that's not what happened for me. And that's not what happened for these students, apparently. It's interesting to me to see how, in order to get rid of affirmative action, Edward Bloom, who is a long-term conservative, one would say activist, strategist, was trying to get rid of affirmative action for years. When he realized that his white clientele, his cases with focusing on white students, was not working, he said, I gotta find another minority group. Because the can't do affirmative action with whites. I could get them Asians though. And he did. He recruited them into his lobby. Now, it's a little bizarre that we're looking at a case such as Harvard. Had you told me this was Hunter College or BMCC, I'd be like, well, there shouldn't be any race-based horseshit going on there. It's Hunter College. It's BMCC. But we're talking about the highest of elite institutions. Is it wrong for students at the highest of elite institutions to be looked at or considered by their race? Is it wrong for them to be looked at their economic background? Because that's the alternative. The alternative would be, well, I can't look at them as their race anymore, but I will look at their economic background, which, in order to do that, yeah, kind of have to talk about race. So it's affirmative action without the affirmative action. But let's hear some experts on the subject, as I am just some dude. CNBC.
Heard from President Biden a short time ago saying he strongly disagrees with the decision. For more on how this will affect college admissions and the workforce those colleges send to corporate America, we bring in Danielle Holly-Walker of the Howard University School of Law, President-elect Matt Holyoke, and Danny Ceballos, MSNBC legal analyst. Welcome, both of you. Danielle, I wonder if there are some potential impacts of this that everybody who's reacting might not realize, in that education is crucial to the future of the knowledge economy and this country. But will colleges, you think, be able to balance their classes now based on maybe economic factors or geographic factors that are measurable instead of using race and achieve a similar result?
You know, I think we have some precedent for this. We have places like California and Michigan that have been trying race-neutral alternatives for a long time. And what we've seen is just, it does not make the same difference that being able to consider race as one of many factors does. So for example, with Native American students, we saw them fall, almost 90% in terms of admissions in some states. So this affects most students of color who are Black, Latino, Latina, or Native American, Native Hawaiian. And I think we'll see some significant drop-offs in those enrollments.
Oh, wait. The alternative has been tried, and it kind of doesn't work. Go figure. Go figure. What a country that you can have both systems, and one's clearly working above the other. Thank you, California, a liberal state, by the way. So you can't even say it's a red state. A liberal state tried it, and they failed at it. The problem is this, right? Even if you look at the Harvard diversity demographics, it's still a little off what they're talking about here. Let's say 2023. I have that here. Lots of tabs open. Boom. Even for 2023, by the numbers, 47.2% was white, 22.6% was Asian, 11% Hispanic or Latino, 10% Black. So even if you combined the Black and Latino numbers, they're just shy of the 22% all Asians make up. And you would have to combine all three to get even close to the whites. So clearly, Harvard does like Asians a bit more than Latinos. I wonder why that is. Is it the great cuisine? We have great cuisine. Banh mi's good. No rice and beans? I would argue we do rice better than Asians. That's a fact. They can't beat us in that. We do amazing seasoning. What are they bringing to the table? White rice? White rice is trash. It's all yellow rice. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows that. Brown rice, that's what it's all about. That's more Indian, I think. Which, technically Asian, but I'm not going to let you claim that. I'm not talking about those Asians. These kids were so upset they didn't get into their dream school, they sued about it. And guess what? They fucked everybody, including themselves. Most beneficiaries of affirmative action are white women and Asians. Blacks and Latinos get some of it, but we don't get all of it. It's not like we check one box, we're instantly in. Will Smith's kids, I heard this on the Young Turks, they were concerned, which they used to be far left, now they're concerned about affirmative action, that Will Smith's kids would get the same consideration under affirmative action, and they're wrong. Actually, he would be treated as a rich kid because backgrounds matter. You see, the idea of college admissions being a meritocracy is a fallacy. They were always subjective. Two kids walk in, they send their application, right? One's got 3.8, grew up in Compton, lost his dad to gang violence, had to work support his family, has the extracurriculars, versus a 4.0 white kid who grew up in Beverly Hills, pretty solid life, good income bracket. Who do you think's getting it? And it ain't necessarily about race either. If he doesn't have extracurriculars and that other kid does, that means that kid is dedicated to doing more than what's within his bounds. He's dedicated not only to his schoolwork, he's dedicated to his family, and his grades did not slip with all the extracurricular activities and the job. What did the Beverly Hills kid do? The bare minimum, and what I would say is a more comfier situation. And even if you flip the demographics of that white kid, I guess he would be necessarily shot by gang violence, more like biker violence. That seems a bit more white. Even if you flipped it around, that white kid would probably be more considered than the affluent black kid because he shows more character. It was always built on character. College admissions, and I always thought this, was the first grift you ever learn. It's the first indication of how does one sell themselves as a product. I want to go to your university because here's what it does for me. I want to go to your university because here's what I'll become. And this is my background. And, you know, my mom's ugly. My dad's kind of a gargoyle. My cousin's in a wheelchair. Like, these are the things that would make up your essay. And you would go, wow, this kid's life is pretty shitty. His mom's hideous. Look at her. They would let that kid in. There are kids walking the earth today who have pretty decent grades but got into college because the essay was fire. And can you be upset about that? No, because this is a carny nation. Grades were always just a basis for how students got evaluated. See, in my generation, we fought against the SATs. Oh, the SATs don't determine intelligence. It's who the person is. But ever since we started doing the who the person is, my generation got really weird about it because they weren't the ones that benefited. And it's weird to me that somehow we have become obsessed with this idea of the meritocracy in all things, when the truth is everything's subjective. Who you help, who you ally yourself with. When you go to a job, you give your resume. You have an immaculate resume. But if you flunk that interview, you're not getting into that job. The same way if you flunk that essay, you're not getting into that school. Race was just one tool of getting over. In pro wrestling, we talk about this all the time. How can you get over? You can get over with your wrestling. You can get over with your character, your promos, your merch, your catchphrases. They're tools to get over. This is a carny nation. From episode 1, we've been saying this is a carny nation. But now that Black and Latinos have an extra tool, a tad bit, to get over, to get to places that people in their previous generations couldn't get to, now it's a problem. When the whites have a 200-year head start. So it's the problem now. Whites always love saying we have to go to the meritocracy because in the meritocracy, they always win. 9 times out of 10, their neighborhoods are way more financially supported than our neighborhoods are. Now, that's not to say the kid from Appalachia, the white boy from Appalachia, has it particularly easier than the kid from the projects, but I would fight for the kid from Appalachia as well. Because even if you considered class, that's affirmative action. If you considered family tragedy, that's affirmative action. So essentially, they made a big whole hubbubaloo over one aspect of affirmative action that you can easily apply to a bunch of other things, and it still wouldn't matter. Those kids are still getting in. The demographics are still going to be demographics. Harvard is not going to now go, you know what? Now we can go back to just letting all whites in. It's not going to happen. The same injustice you feel happened under affirmative action is going to happen without affirmative action being there. It's just going to be affirmative action without the name. People, also would say, what about the affirmative action children? Don't they ever feel bad that people call them affirmative action applicants? Well, here's the problem with that. Everyone who's racist automatically assumes you got something for being black or brown. So even if you don't have affirmative action, someone's going to tell you he got that because he's black. He got that because he's a Latino, diversity. You know how things are now. So you don't need affirmative action for that. So it's bizarre to me that we have worked ourselves into a shoot about the meritocracy. The last time we lived in a meritocracy, we were cavemen. You ate what you killed your rivals, and that was that. No one stopped you. The second you start society, here comes politics. We talk about it all the time. Do the best leaders get elected? Are these billionaires all geniuses? No. There are kids on TikTok eating grimace shakes, getting millions and millions of dollars in sponsorship. They're not smarter than you and I. Is TikTok affirmative action for the retards? I don't think so. But they're being considered because they're entertaining. They're providing a service. Does it make them better than me? I do a weekly podcast, and this takes a lot of work. But in the end, I feel a lot of people who don't want affirmative action, they need to just be honest about what it is. You just no longer want to talk about race. You're tired of the race discussion. You're annoyed by it. It's been going on too long for you, even though, can we ever get tired of this discussion? There's really some good shit to always be dug up. But people are tired of it, it seems. And they have this idea that if you take away affirmative action, everyone will be judged equally under the admission guidelines. But little do they realize those essays still get written. Those admissions people still read them. They still get demographics. They're still going to consider race even without it being a law. Just like with Roe v. Wade, it was just one of those things the Supreme Court could just do to trigger the libs. And it did a good job. It triggered all the libs. Congrats. But in a few years, maybe when I'm 60 and the Supreme Court changes over, we'll be at the same discussion again. Sandra Day O'Connor said that affirmative action is a short-term solution. And it would have to end someday. And I think anyone can agree with that. But it just ended too early. And I feel the same way about this that I feel with standardized testing. Some kids are just smart. Let's keep it what it is. Call it a buck. And they would say that it didn't benefit Black and Latino students, but I would argue, if you look at the current numbers, those students are now rising up being able to pass those tests. So the generation we've been hoping for to balance the scales is coming. Whatever you want to say about Gen Z and whatever comes afterwards, they're a hell of a lot smarter than a lot of us fucking were. And their grades are a hell of a lot higher than ours were. And they're doing something pretty great right now. They are becoming the generation we had hoped to save us. And I feel with affirmative action, that's what was happening. These kids were getting access to institutions and resources they normally wouldn't have gotten to further foster this growth, I would say, of an educational rebellion. People who had not been considered before were now being considered in higher numbers. And now that it's gone, guess what? Now it's going to affect some things. I have a couple of numbers here about the actual success rate. They say that the actual gap between people of color and white graduation rates without affirmative action was 10%. With affirmative action, 6%. For an argument that people want to throw numbers around for, 87% of affirmative action students graduate. So it's not like they're getting there and they're flunking out. They're graduating. And for the most part, they're probably the first people in their family to graduate. The meritocracy grift, America's been on it for years. It's how they keep all these groups separated. Did you earn it? Did you do that right? 'Cause it's harder for me. You must not have earned it. You must have found some way around it. No. These kids send the same applications you're sending in with some of the same essays, and just some have better stories. How about, this might be a little tasteless, throw some tragedy in your life. You want to go to a good college? Throw some tragedy in your life. Get into a car accident. Chop your leg off. Start doing hard drugs early. I told Megan and Harry to do that last week. Start adding more trauma to your life. Maybe that's the solution. Maybe your essay will be kind of cooler. Because only cool people get into college, it seems. With the cool essays. You know who get calls up from the G League? Interesting players. You know who get calls up from the minors? Interesting players that deliver. That are interesting. That are marketable. Not just good, marketable. Are you marketable? Gotta figure that out, buddy. Because for these kids, I hate to break it to you. If you got considered by Harvard, you could have gone anywhere. Truthfully speaking, you could have gone anywhere. Dartmouth was right there. Any other Ivy League schools, you could have gone there. Maybe you're interesting enough for them. You think back in the old NWA days, everyone wanted to book Ole Anderson? No. Some people didn't see the money in Ole, but Mid-South did. Mid-Atlantic did. You go where your value is. Add some tragedy to your life. Had that kid survived the submarine, his college essay would have been flames. Gotta start lying. Start lying early. That's the number one rule they don't teach you in life, in high school, to lie. You're busy lying to your parents about where you are when you're fucking your boyfriend, but you can't lie on your goddamn college application? Now you want to be fucking holier than thou? Sorry. I have no sympathy. Get your college essay game up. Get your college essay game up. We've been doing this for years now. People do not get places off merit. You're an idiot if you think so. It's not how it works. That the merit is just to prove competency. Doesn't mean people are going to help you. Anyone can be competent, but can you be likable? Can someone stand you for longer than 20 minutes? My listeners seem to. Start lying. That's what they didn't do. It's not interesting. Who wants to hang around with non-interesting kids? I don't. I want only the most interesting students. I want the next Cornell West in my school. How am I going to get them? Gotta let in some black kids. They're the only ones with the cool slang. And to be honest, if you're going to repeal affirmative action, you're going to have to go after legacy admissions. Legacy admissions. 200 years where white people had a head start. Most legacy admissions are going to be what? White. How about you go after those? They won't. They can't. It's a policy issue. How about the donors? Hey, It's a mighty fine college you got here. Be really cool if you got a new library. Yeah? Yeah. You willing to pay for the library? Yeah. Just let my kid in. Cool. Happens all the time. It's all a rigged game. It was never a meritocracy. Everyone's using their individual privileges to get what they want. Why not blacks and Latinos? Why can we not have something that benefits us that's not necessarily equal to the millions and millions of dollars that donors can give and the millions and millions of dollars that legacy admission kids have? But all we wanted was a little slice of the pie. We just wanted to go, hey, please, sir, I'm a poor black Latino. I come from a hood that you might have seen in shows like Snowfall, movies like Save the Last Dance, things like Boys in the Hood. I come from there, and I'm just asking for an opportunity so I can be part of the Crimson. Is that okay? I've done all these extracurriculars. I took care of my mom. My dad is dead. I buried him myself. Can I go to college? That's all we're asking. They're going to do it anyway. Can't wait. I can't wait for it to fall on its face. When affirmative action happens without affirmative action being in law, it's going to be great. There's still too many blacks in colleges. You want to do it economically, and guess what? Economically, we're fucked. So we win anyway. So should we cry that affirmative action's gone? Not cry. Definitely be mildly annoyed. But we should definitely be excited for the future. Because they just fucked themselves now. Because now they do it economically, we're definitely in. Like, they can't even keep us out. We're definitely in if it's all economic. As if saying fuck black and brown kids wasn't enough, they decided to say fuck everyone else. CBS is good breaking news music.
This is a CBS News special report. I'm Nate Burleson. Breaking news out of the Supreme Court. The court just ruled that the Biden administration's student loan forgiveness plan is unconstitutional. The White House estimates the plan would have affected 37 million Americans and was set to forgive up to $20,000 in federal loans per qualifying borrower. The plan has been on hold since 6 Republican-led states who claimed the program violated President Biden's executive power took the administration to court. But the Biden administration argued the plan is permitted within the law and cited the HEROES Act, which allows the Secretary of Education to make changes related to student loans during national emergencies like the COVID pandemic. Chief Washington correspondent Major Garrett is outside the Supreme Court. Chief, good morning.
Good morning, Nate, and welcome to the Supreme Court Plaza. As you said, in a 6-3 decision from the Supreme Court, writing on behalf of that majority, Chief Justice John Roberts addresses that question you raised right at the top, Nate. Did the HEROES Act, passed by Congress in 2003, give the Biden administration's Education Department the right to modify or amend that act to provide this student loan forgiveness? The court, through a 6-3 majority, says absolutely not. Let me read the main paragraph from the decision. The HEROES Act provides no authorization for the Secretary's plan when examined using the ordinary tools of statutory interpretation, let alone clear congressional authorization for such a program, meaning the court said Congress never intended for any administration to use the HEROES Act to waive all of this, or grant, rather, this loan forgiveness. What is interesting about this, Nate, is that this is an intent. No one has currently received any debt loan forgiveness. So the 37 million Americans who would benefit from this took out loans or received Pell Grants with the expectation they would have to repay them. That expectation that will now be realized yet again. There will be no forgiveness of this debt, even though the Biden administration argued strenuously before the court it had the right under the HEROES Act to do so, reading that law specifically, and the court said directly, it said it found no authorization for a debt forgiveness of this side. The financial implications of it, Nate, $400 billion, the estimated cost of this debt loan forgiveness, and about 16 million Americans would have qualified almost immediately to have their debt forgiven, at least in part or total. That will not happen, and the court has so ruled. Nate, back to you.
Ain't that grand? A bunch of people could have had 20K in debt wiped out, but they don't want to do it because, no. Sounds like it was just a no. The problem I have with the Constitution in general is that it's almost untouchable, right? Like, we'll never have another constitutional convention because no one would benefit. But there comes a time where you're on the Supreme Court. Well, maybe, just maybe, you go, hey, fuck the Constitution, huh? Fuck it. Fuck those old white dudes. They're not here no more. Thomas Jefferson's not going to wag his finger from heaven. Let's do what the fuck we want to do. Let's wipe out the debt. And they have no real reasoning for not doing it that makes sense to anyone's life. 20K wiped out from people's debts, life-changing money. We just got through a pandemic. People are suffering. People can't even pay that debt. Now you want them to pick up the fucking bill? Because essentially, we created a country where, quote-unquote, meritocracy. Remember that. We quote-unquote meritocracy. People went to school, got college degrees, can't do a goddamn thing with them, and now they're in fucking huge debt. Debt they can't get rid of. Even if they die, that debt doesn't go anywhere. It goes to your kids. Like, it's debt that's transferable. It doesn't even stop when you're dead. So we've created zombie debt. An impenetrable zombie debt that cannot be stopped. And for daring to dream, it will be hooked around your ankle. You'll carry this boulder around the rest of your life. You can't afford a house, can't afford a car. You're fucked. You'll never be able to get to the American dream. But aren't you happy you went to school, though? Aren't you happy you got your paper? Maybe those Asian kids in Harvard lucked out. Maybe they won't have to pay for that debt. Maybe they can go to a trade school, learn a trade. But it's disheartening to live in a country where all forms of a ladder have been taken from you. You cannot dare to climb at a higher level because the ladder will burn under your feet. I know someone who was literally 20K in debt from college. Had this thing happened, set free by the 20K in debt, could then move on with their life and start making real strides in having an American dream kind of existence. Start saving for a house, start saving for a car, maybe put together a family. They can't do that now because the Supreme Court and conservatives in general have this belief that there is enough work in this world and enough spirit to overcome the crippling financial disaster that is our country. And what they don't realize is the middle class is evaporating left and right. All you have is lower class and higher class people. That, in essence, isn't a meritocracy because half those people who are born in those higher class brackets are born to it. So it's kind of a gamble. Luck of the draw, luck of birth. So what happens then? Well, I was thinking about this. In 2010, there was a guy who flew his plane into the IRS building. And he made a very compelling argument against taxes, which, how you liking your taxes now? And you start to wonder, are those guys coming back? Like those broken, weird domestic terrorist people. Like, things are so shitty right now. When's the next one going to happen? And I hope it's not a listener of this show, because I don't want to be saying I'm advocating for it. I just think it's interesting. I'm just a little scared that it might happen. There's a movie called Falling Down by Michael Douglas. It's interesting. It's kind of like a Proud Boy call sign. It's kind of fucking weird. But it's about a man who sees a society that's falling apart and decides no more and takes action to his own hands, starts killing motherfuckers. There's also that movie Joe, which, to be fair, it's a bit racist. And it's always white dudes. So, to me, we are creating a cesspool of a nation. People always talk about all the cities are falling apart. All the cities have this rampant crime. Well, why is that? People are in debt. People have no money. And I have some solutions to that. If you are broke, there are some jobs you can do. There are some ways to make money. They're long-term plans now. Long-term plans. But if you start today, you might have a chance. Start a cult. Start a cult. In this era of half-truths and spirituality. Make a religion. It worked for L. Ron Hubbard. Start small, though. You always got to start small. You don't want to start saying you did miracles. You just want to be a cool guy that has some good advice and a few people listen to you. Then you start going, you got visions. And when you have visions, keep the visions kind of low, not like future predictions, just stuff that can happen. Like, I predict you will have some money coming your way someday. And someone happens to find $20 on the street. You said I would find money. I did say you would find money. So now you've got them believing that you got something going on. Study all the great religions. Study all the great prophets. Study Jim Jones. He had a fantastic way of speaking. You have to be captivating to do this grift, but it's a solid grift to be doing. I think the cult leader grift is one I missed out on. I think I could have been a great cult leader, but I dedicated my life to being a normal person. But I could have been a fantastic cult leader. I could have been millions of dollars rich, knee deep in lots of women. I would have had at least 25 children by now, all named Ralph, because that's part of the religion. Everyone would have to name their son Ralph to continue my lineage. Starting a cult's not a bad idea. You're offering hope, and people need hope right now. This is sad times. In the 70s, why cults and cult leaders were so huge. It was sad times. The economy was falling apart. We're back there again. We need new cult leaders. So if your college debt is too much for you, start a cult. Start reading other books. Start taking things here and there. Take a little bit of Jesus, a little bit of Muhammad. I would say look at some Charles Manson, because you want to have a good buffer of ideas. You want to you kind of want to know what the extremes are. There's Jesus and there's Charles Manson. You kind of want to be in the in-between, all right? But you don't want to get greedy either. Take their money, take their tithing, which is interesting how churches take 10% of people's salary and no one thinks that's weird. But do that. Find ways to get money, pull money from other people, offer them salvation, offer them good feelings. That's what people want. They want good feelings. Other people who are doing that, drug dealers, and they're having a fantastic time right now. I was told by a source, says a lot about me, that cocaine is on the rise again. People are now doing cocaine in bigger numbers. Weed's no longer cool, which is unfortunate. We just got legal and some people just got into it. But cocaine's now the drug of choice. People are like, fuck this. I want to be numb. I want to be 80s businessman numb. Why? Because we turned all society into the 80s businessman. Everyone's stressed out. Everyone's on the phone making deals. Brand deals, OnlyFans, all the shit. Everyone's got a brand they're working on. They're all starting an empire. You could be starting an empire by starting a cult. Hook up with a drug dealer. Get some LSD in there. MK Ultra some people. Make them think you're a god. And here's the thing. You're going to feel bad at first because, you are, to be fair, hoodwinking some people. But you have to think about it this way. Would they be doing anything more interesting if you weren't in their life? Probably not. Probably not. You're the best thing they got going. So you got to work at your best. Always be fit, work out, take time, eat healthy, because what good is a prophet if he's dead? You just got to keep going. You want to save the death for later. Some guys choose to take themselves out. I'd rather go out old. But the key really is selling hope, because that's what we did as a country. We sold hope with the college education. We said, hey, if you work hard enough and you get that degree, there's a job waiting for you. Now, in some markets, there will be. The tech sector particularly, there'll be jobs there. AI hasn't fully taken over yet, so there'll always be tech jobs. But if you're studying to be, I don't know, if your major is English, you might want to blow your brains out now. I think it's kind of over for you. If you're learning Sanskrit, what are you doing? You might want to blow your brains out. Other useless degree. If you're in theater, what are you doing? What are you doing? Stop doing the performing arts. No one cares about that. Start a TikTok. You're better off that way. Are you in film school? Drop out right now. Start a YouTube channel. There's no need for you to be there. Save yourself debt. No one cares where you went to film school. I've watched kids from NYU submit films to film festivals. They are terrible. They could have saved a lot of money just by getting a camcorder and just shooting a film. All this equipment was less than a college education. And I've learned more doing this than my associate's degree. Don't tell anybody that. I still want to get a job. I still have to make that degree look like something. We have to cut this part. But the truth is, if you're going to be in debt in style. Be a cult leader. Be a drug dealer. Go into politics. AOC did it. Go to a bar. Have a few anecdotes. People think you're smart. You know what you should do? You should run. Yeah, I should run. And you start running. You go low level first. You beat someone that you can easily beat. You know what I mean? Because you want to get wins under your belt. That's the key. Getting wins under your belt. You run against somebody who's an incumbent, who has got nothing to offer. Boring. Half the people think he's dead already. You show up. Shabam, shabam, shabam. Brand new ideas. You're young. You're youthful. The old people are like, damn, this guy's kind of cool. I want to get down with the young guy. He seems all right. Bam. Now you're in city council, not doing anything. You get married to somebody, you cheat on her, the mob finds out, they blackmail you because you cheat on your wife. This is how life works. And now you're making money. Because now while they're extorting you, you can extort other people for money. And you're paying off your college debt. What's your friend from school doing? Working at Goldman Sachs in the mailroom? Fuck that guy. You're a politician, a crooked one. You're a cult leader. There's ladies sucking your dick on the regular and giving you their salary. So now you're coming and you're solving your student loan debt. The American dream. Drug dealing, listen, we've all seen the TV shows. I think we all know how that works out. You know, do not start a SoundCloud though. Do not become a rapper. Now, do not. It does not work. The era of all the other guys getting in through SoundCloud, that's over now. They've closed that gate. It's too late. If you're 45 with a SoundCloud, come on, man. It's kind of over. It's kind of over. I hate to break it to you, but what you could do, find another rapper who's better than you and pretend you know the business. Hey, I got 1,000 streams once. What? Take me under your wing. Now you're extorting him. Now you're paying your college debt. It's time to stop doing things honestly. It's the age of the grift. Had people been grifting since their admission to college, they would be fucking farther ahead. Am I wrong? Tell me when I'm telling lies, as CM Punk would say. I'm probably telling a little bit of a lie, but it's not the point. It's not the point. I'm not going to say go rob people. Legally do it. Start a hedge fund. Get a couple of your friends together. Pull some money together. Start working the penny stocks. Start a YouTube channel where you talk about stock. Put up fake numbers that your portfolio is doing so amazingly well. People will believe it. They won't question you. They never question anybody. Do an Andrew Tate. Start a webcam service for hot chicks. Digital pimping, fair, but it is what it is. Some hoes need guidance. And if you are a hoe who don't need no guidance, start an OnlyFans. I would tell you to go learn a trade, but what's the point in that, really? They're not going to pay you well either. You'll make more money grifting than you will at a normal job. Whose fault is that? I don't know. Maybe it's our fault because we like to be entertained by grifters. We like being caught up in the, ooh, how's he going to get out of this one? Start cooking meth. Learn that. Cooking meth sounds fun. You got to wear a gas mask and a suit all the time. But you're a chemist at that point. If you are in school right now for a chemistry degree, start cooking meth on your off hours. Because you're going to have to pay that debt somehow. Biker gangs will find you and they will buy your meth. A job that's going to pay you what? $17 an hour? In New York City? You ain't clearing that debt. Or you can just, live your life, have a family, and leave that debt to your children. I mean, make it their problem. You raised them. Why not make it their problem? That's the way I look at it. Their lives should be negatively affected by me in some way while I'm gone. Throw some debt their way. It builds character. They'll have to pick themselves up from their bootstraps to fix my problems because I couldn't pick myself up from my bootstraps to fix my own problems. The key of being a cult leader is don't get too greedy. But everyone gets too greedy. Everyone wants more women, more money, more property, more stuff. Just do it just enough to clear your debt. And after you're done clearing your debt, do it a little bit longer, get yourself a nest egg, and disappear. And then have people say, our great prophet disappeared into the ether because the Lord took him. And now you're on the Cayman Islands having pina coladas after scamming a bunch of people to pay your college debt. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Ain't nothing wrong with it. America fucking scammed you, and now you're scamming everybody else. I don't know why I'm dancing like this. I don't know if this is a pina colada dance. But it is now. Just drink your have your pina colada. Hot girl comes up to you. What did you do? Scammed a bunch of people for their money, started a cult, cleared my college debt. You know what part you heard of that? You cleared your college debt. That's what turned her on. The cult thing, she didn't even think about it. You have no college debt? Ooh, like, yeah. No college debt for me. Having my little pina colada. Then eventually, someone knocks on your door years later. They were a member of the cult. And they tracked you down and you had fucked their wife. And his son is named Ralph. And now he's not happy about that. He thought you were actually dead. And now he found out you're alive. And he's been raising your child the entire time. And he's got a gun. It's not easy. It's not easy. I'm going to leave you with that cliffhanger. I'm not going to tell you how that story ends. There's a few ways that story can end. I'm pretty good with the shit talking, but maybe naming all the kids Ralph was an issue. Maybe that's what was. I think he could get over. I think he could get over me banging his wife, but I think the idea of having to raise a kid named Ralph is just like, wait a minute. Not only did this guy bring me in his cult, he banged my wife, and then he had the audacity to name a kid Ralph, and now I'm raising him. And like I got my pina colada in my hand, and the girl I just met on the beach comes out like, what's going on, Miguel? I've changed my name by this point. I go by Miguel now because I'm hiding from the government, and I'm like, destiny arrives, and I drop my pina colada cup, and just as it hits the ground, he shoots me, and I fall back. And I'm dropping to the ground, and then. Instead of just the one shot, he's got to make sure he takes me out. So he like stands over me. Pow, 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 pow. And I'm done. All because I wanted to clear some college debt. How you like that, American government? How you like that, Supreme Court? That's what you're going to cause. Me getting shot in the Cayman Islands with my pina colada. All because I wanted to start a cult and clear some college debt. It's hard out here for a pimp. R.I.P. to of the universe, Ralph. I wonder what our canon events would be. If you watch Across the Spider-Verse, you'll understand what I'm talking about. What would our canon events be? Like, was the canon event choosing not to go to college? But then, I feel like there has to be a universe where I did go, and I did apply myself. Maybe the canon event is having the idea of being a cult leader, but we both go about it different ways. I don't know. But I do think I could have been great. I could have been a Hall of Famer. All-time, what's my all-time Hall of Fame numbers? I could have at least had like 30,000 people under my fucking wing, dog. 30,000. At least 4 properties. Probably could have made like at least 5 mil. Had like 14 concubines. 25 children for sure. And at least 12 husbands who wanted to kill me after. But just that one guy found me. Because he was so dedicated. Like, I just think, like, he leaves the compound once I'm gone. And they're like, Ralph's not here anymore. What do you mean he's not here anymore? He just disappeared. And he's now with the ether. He's now with all things. Well, I don't fucking believe that one bit. He better come pay child support for this goddamn kid that ain't mine. Then he starts like tracking the bank accounts and who transferred where. He's on a plane and like he's sitting next to somebody. And someone's like, oh, what brings you to the Cayman Islands? He's like, visiting a friend. Visiting an old friend. And it's like, oh, okay. Intense. Gotcha. Does he know you're coming? Oh, no. He doesn't know I'm coming. But he'll see me, though. He'll see me. And you're like, damn. Why is this dude so intense going to the Cayman Islands? He can't get his gun through the airport, so someone's got to have a gun ready for him. So maybe one of the other husbands might have figured out a way to get a gun there to him. And he picks it up after the airport. And he's got me. Knocks on that door. Nice Cayman Islands hut at the beach. I've just made love to this beautiful local woman. Yep. Ain't that something? And then I walk out. I'm naked, of course. I'm naked in this scenario. So if you're listening at home and watching, I'm fully naked here. Dick dangling and everything. So he's got me by the balls, literally. And, you know, he just puts a bullet in me. Airs me out. Probably shoots my dick. You know. Some symbolic bullshit. All because I wanted to clear some college debt. And he goes back to the wife. That's the thing about it. Like, he's going back to the wife. Like, it's just weird. She's like, where were you? Had to go do something. But you've been gone for 14 days. But then, like, I wonder, like, he knows the kid's mine. So, like, he'll never look at the kid the right way, you know? He'll always have an anger towards that kid. And that kid will feel, like, really guilty once he finds out the truth. And he'll put that in his college essay. And he'll get into college. I am actually the son of a cult leader. My dad killed this cult leader. And I've been struggling ever since. Is it okay if I attend your university? And someone will go, you know what? That's the kind of diversity we need here. I'll get in. So maybe it all does work out in the end. Or maybe we all know how this one